Sorry about that.
Okay, we are recording.
There we go. All right. So what we're going to just start to dive into is our bodies. Okay. So there's two things that are happening in the golf swing that are going to be pretty important. So one is definitely going to be coordinating rotation and pivot. Okay. And the second is going to be balance. Okay. So how many of us have made swings and feel like we're losing our balance as we're making impact? So really some easy exercises to do at home, and do this with my team at Monmouth. It's some really basic pivot motion. So if you want to get up and try this out, what we're going to do is you're going to take your golf club, put it across your chest, okay, and get into your golf posture. So I think a really easy way to get into our golf posture, okay, is if we were to stand up and straight down and put our hands on our thighs and just slowly tilt from our hips as if we were trying to reach down to our knees and then get some nice knee flex there. Great way to get into a good setup and posture position, okay? And what we're gonna do from there is we're gonna take our golf club, then we're gonna put it across our chest, and what we're going to have is the grip off of if a right-handed golfer, we're gonna have it off of our left shoulder. And what we're gonna do is just slowly make small pivot motions, okay? Where I'm gonna take my left shoulder and bring it towards my right foot, okay? If I can get there, that's great. If I can only get to, let's say, the middle of my stance, that would be great as well, okay? And then from this position, I'm gonna take my lower body and I'm gonna rotate my lower body back towards the target, okay? And see if I can slowly get into a finished position where I'm nice and balanced, okay? This is something that you can easily work on at home, okay? It's gonna improve your golf game tremendously, okay? Because one of the things we know in golf is that we wanna be able to create power in our swing by making a nice pivot with our body back and forward. One of the things that I see a lot when I'm teaching, and most of you guys know this, you're not golf pros, right? I'm the only golf pro in the room, I think. Okay, so you have jobs, you have other things going on in your life. So you don't have an opportunity to work on one of the key aspects in the golf swing is being able to separate your lower body and your upper body. Okay, so let me show you what I'm talking about. So in the golf swing, okay, what basically is going to happen is we're going to allow our upper body to rotate and our lower body is going to follow, okay? So not only am I asking you to pivot and transfer your weight and get balanced, I'm also asking you to do what? Be able to separate those body parts, okay? So I call this the ABBA concept. And what I mean by that is if golf was a dance move, okay, and we name parts of our body that we're moving. Number one would be A, which is our upper body, okay? And our lower body would be B. So on the backswing, we want what to move first. A to move first and B is going to follow, okay? And then we're going to allow, this is where the ABBA part comes in, B to move first and A to follow, okay? As easy as that sounds, if we are not practicing separating body parts, it's going to be hard for us to do that. Which leads me into kind of my next exercise that I think would be fantastic for you guys. And what I mean by separating body parts and being able to really do this is that the question is, can you guys move your lower body separate from your upper body? Okay. And I'm going to make that look really, really easy because I do it all day long and I chase a bunch of 18-year-olds to 20-year-olds around Monmouth University. So I'm always moving. Okay, but can you do this? Can you move that lower body separate from your upper body? And many of you, if you've taken golf lessons, have been told a couple things. You may have been told that you're moving way off the ball. You may have been told that you're moving in the wrong direction. And a big piece of reason that happens is our inability to separate our body parts. So what you can do to practice is at home, just need your golf club, that we're just working on that pivot rotation drill, okay? And we're gonna place the club out in front of us, and this is going to act like a stability force. Okay, I'm going to put both hands, okay, up on the club, and what I'm going to work on is, guess what? Moving my lower body separate from my upper body. Okay, and from this angle, it would look like this. So that way, when we're doing our golf swing, okay, how would that translate? If I make that good rotation, okay, and I move away from the ball, on my downswing, guess what I can do? If my lower body moves first, then I'm going to be in a position to get the club really in a great spot to be able to contact the ball first and then the ground second. Okay, so what we're really trying to do is two basic exercises you can easily do at home are going to work on really key things in the swing. Okay, one is going to be what? Rotation. Number two is going to be balance, right? And number three is the ABBA concept. That A is going to move first, B is going to follow. This is a separation of those body parts. And then B will move first and A will follow. Okay. One of the questions I get asked all the time is, how do these tour players hit the ball so far? Right. And for women, we're always trying to create more speed. Okay. So very simple, the professional athletes, right? That's what they do all day long. So they should be generating that much club head speed. But you guys, and myself included, can generate and create more speed by swinging smarter and not harder. And you're going to be able to do that by utilizing your body parts a whole lot better. Okay. So right in those two exercises, you can just hit some major things in the golf swing that are going to help you out a lot. Okay. Once we kind of talk about the pivot motion, okay, and Karen and I, when we were talking about this this clinic, I always kind of look at the fundamentals of the swing and like three basic components. One is going to be our grip, our setup, and our posture, which we're going to get to next. The second is going to be this nice pivot motion that we're going to make. And the third is going to be connection, okay, which gets into this towel, easiest drill. I promise not to charge you 3 easy installments of $19.99 for your beach towel at home that you can do easily to make your golf swing a whole lot more efficient. And what we're talking about in connection really has to do with what our arms are doing in the swing. Okay, so one of the things that I see a lot when I'm teaching, okay, is people losing connection with their arms and their chest. Okay, so their body's moving this way. Well, what the heck do you do with your arms? Okay, so an easy way to practice this is just to take a towel, put it underneath both your arms, and start to work on being able to keep your arms connected to your chest. What's cool is that you can actually hit balls this way as well. Okay, so we take the towel, put it underneath our arms, and if you have your golf club, okay, it's going to be a really cool sensation that you may have not felt before, where we're going to go back, we're going to stay nice and connected with our body, and then we're going to swing forward, and we're going to stay nice and connected with our body. Okay. The coolest thing, and any exercise that we do in golf, and as a teacher, I can't say it enough that I want my students to have drills and stretching exercises that will allow them to make the motion and give them really good feedback, right? Whether you're doing it right or not. You can make 100 golf swings in a day and do it wrong and it doesn't matter. So this is awesome because if, for example, you're someone who gets disconnected on the backswing, you see how my towel just fell. Okay. The second thing that I see a lot of, how many of you have heard that you have a chicken wing? Okay. Which is this kind of motion through impact. Okay. Or I use the term alligator arms, like the Geico commercial with T-Rex pulling back the check because they don't want to pay. Okay, a lot of times people in the golf swing, in their golf swings, their arms get closer to their body. Okay, so if you use this towel and you start to pull closer to your body, guess what also happens? The towel is going to start to fall out. Okay, I'll do it towards you. You can see it a little bit better. You'll get into this kind of thing, and the towel will fall out onto the ground. So it's going to give you some really good solid feedback and a great feel, okay, to make the right motion. How simple is that? Here at the golf cave and my kids at Monmouth, all I keep talking about is my coronavirus ball, which if you guys can see kind of looks like it, right? So I use this a lot, you know, with my students here and with the kids at Monmouth. I like to think that I came up with it, but I didn't. Very famous golfer, Annika Sorenstam, who's playing this weekend, by the way, came out of retirement. She made this drill very famous, which is just similar to the towel drill, where you're basically going to take a ball and put it between both elbows, okay, and make swings. And you can kind of see, I'm sure, very visual, that I'm going to be able to keep that connection with the triangle, my arms, and my body. I think this is something that could help you, most of us, tremendously. If you've ever seen yourself on video and you've got yourself in this position where you've lost that triangle of your arms, this one's speaking to you, okay? So again, big fundamental in the golf swing that's going to make you hit the ball a whole lot better, okay? So with that being said, I think we all love it when your golf pro tells you that you have an improper grip or your stance and your posture is off. Why is the grip so difficult? And why are people still learning how to do it 20, 30 years after playing golf? And part of the reason is that in golf, okay, the way we hold the club is unlike any other thing that we do in life, okay? If you're gonna play tennis, if you grab a baseball bat, a wiffle ball bat, okay, a shovel, we hold those instruments in our palms, okay? So in the golf swing, we're completely doing the opposite, okay? We're holding the club mostly in our fingers, okay? I always tell a lot of my clients that it's like, I want you to think you're using chopsticks and not like a shovel, all right? We want to be able to hold the club in our fingers, and that's going to give us a lot of control and speed, okay? And make good contact when we make impact. So how do you practice this at home, and how do you know if you're doing it correctly? So this is also one of my favorite things. You know, you really need just like an old glove, okay, and a magic marker. So if you have that and you're going to participate in this part of it, go ahead and grab it. Okay, so what we want to do when we're holding the golf club is we're going to hold the club in our left hand. If we're right-handed, mostly in our fingers, okay? We're going to take the heel of our hand and put it on top of the glove, okay? So if I get nice and close here, what I'm going to do is, two things you're going to notice. If you take your magic marker and you put a line from your knuckle back towards your wrist, okay? If I'm gripping the club properly, I'm going to be able to see that magic marker line, okay? So let me show you an example. If I grab the club mostly in my palm, guess what? You can't see that line. You have no idea whether you're in the right spot, okay? If I hold the club properly in my fingers with my thumb to the side, okay, I'm going to be able to see that line by putting that magic marker position right there, okay? Show you a cool little thing too. When I'm giving golf lessons, I'm actually looking for that line when I'm watching you guys swing. I want to be able to see that line is going towards your right shoulder. Okay, so you guys probably can see that. If you've ever seen golf swings or people talk about the golf grip, they'll talk about like making a V here with your thumb and your forefinger. Okay, and that's what I've done right there by making that line. Okay, and that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for an imaginary line that's going from your thumb and your forefinger going towards your right shoulder. Pretty cool, right? And this is going to get you in a good position to be able to hinge your hands properly in the swing. Okay. Little tidbit about the grip, okay, is that it's kind of similar to like if you had a hammer. Okay, if you've ever used a hammer around the house, okay, when we grip a hammer, if we were to hold the hammer in our palm, I wouldn't have any leverage to be able to put the nail into the wall. Okay, we're always holding it with our wrist on top of the handle. Okay, again, you can see that line, and that way I'm going to have a lot of control here with my hands at the top of my swing. So once we do that, we're going to put our right hand on the club. Okay, the big thing we're going to do too, it's going to be all in the fingers, and this is one of my favorite phrases. Okay, is that, you know, I tell all my junior golfers that imagine that this left hand, your left thumb is the hot dog, and your right hand's the bun. Okay, so basically you're going to, once you can see that line, look at your left thumb where it's at. I'm going to hold the club mostly in your right hand, okay, in the fingers, okay, and then I'm going to cover my left thumb with my right hand, hot dog and bun. So guess what? They're matching up together, okay? So that way, when I place my hands up and down, I'm going to be able to have a lot of control and have control of the golf swing. Okay, I can't say enough. A lot of times when I give clinics, I end up saying this very, like, you know, in a humorous manner. It's like my public service announcement. My public service announcement is that the best way to hit really good golf shots, okay, is to start off with a proper grip. And I've been teaching the game for 20 years and can't tell you the amount of time that people will come in for golf lessons and they've been playing a long time and they're usually holding the club improperly when they're not hitting it well. Okay, and it creates kind of like a Band-Aid approach to the game. So if we want to be consistent and we want to hit really good golf shots, this is really an awesome place to start. Okay, so we're going to be looking for that nice V. Okay, we're going to be able to use our magic marker now. And now we also know that that left hand is going to be like a hot dog and the right hand is going to be like the bun. So basically your palms are going to face one another. Okay, one final grip tip. Another way of doing it, I have a ruler. I use this, it's my rainbow ruler. I use this a lot for putting drills. But you can also, if you grip a ruler on its edge, another good way to do the grip properly, because the only way to do it is by holding the edges of the ruler, okay? So that way you know that you have it all in your fingers, okay? Grip, grip, grip. Can't say it enough. Okay, the last setup position thing I want to talk about is posture, and this comes up a lot for chicks because we have a chest to deal with. Okay, and I get asked this all the time, and it's always like, what about the girls? What do I do with the girls? Okay, so I think one of the things that we want to do when we're setting up for a golf shot, okay, our big key is going to be this tilting from our hips. And so what we want to do, if we can, if I stand straight up and straight down, kind of started at the beginning of the session talking about this, and I just make a nice, okay, tilt as if I'm taking my hands and trying to reach down towards my knees. And what you'll notice is that I'm going to tilt for my hips, okay? Once I do that and I flex my knees, I'm going to push my training aid away, okay? If I was to just take my arms and put it across my chest, okay, on top of my chest, and just tilt down, then I'm in a really good position, okay? So when I'm walking in, I want to do it in two basic steps. One is I'm going to tilt for my hips first, okay, allow my arms to be on top of my chest, okay, and then flex my knees, okay. If you're somebody who has a bigger set of girls to deal with, you may have to tilt over a little bit more to get your arms on top of your chest. That's totally fine, okay. The big key is doing it in the right sequence. So it's tilt for my hips first. My arms are going to be down towards my chest. If I need to do it more, I'll tilt more, give myself a little more room. Okay. And then I set up with my knees. Okay. Here's where women get in trouble. And it's not just women, but guys too, but because of the way we're built, I see it more often, where I'll have a client come in and they will flex their knees first, then try to tilt, and then they take their arms and put their arms on top of their chest. How many of you guys have seen that? I've seen it a lot. And you may be someone who's done it, okay? Because you're trying to figure out what to do, okay? You could see you could see probably two things looking at it as I'm illustrating it. One, I'm really not in the right position, right? I'm kind of like getting into a tilted squatty position and trying to swing over. And then when I do one of these things with my arms, now I create a lot of tension. Okay. And then we wonder why we feel like we're so tense over the ball and we can't really make an impact. Okay. So I always think the setup position and posture is like the namaste moment of golf. Okay. Lots of cool things happen there. One of which is you getting into a good posture position. So let's kind of take the tension out of it, okay, and realize that what we're going to do is approaching the ball with our arms out in front, okay, and tilting first. This is going to create the proper room for your arms relative to your chest, okay, and then you're going to feel super athletic when you get over the ball. And that's going to make it a whole lot easier to make a swing that's fluid, okay, and not so tense over the ball as well. Okay. I can't say enough how that pre-shot routine, okay, is a huge key in the golf swing. Okay. And not even the golf swing, in playing the game. All right. Because in golf, as you guys know, and this is crazy. I don't know if you've ever thought about this. We play golf for 4.5 hours. We play 18 holes, right? And that 4.5 hours, we only spend 30 minutes hitting a golf ball. That's crazy. So it's crazy. So there's two cool things about that. One is that means we spend 3.5 hours doing what? Socializing, which is fantastic, which is why golf is such a great game, right? Socializing, enjoying ourselves, enjoying the weather, and hopefully enjoying our playing partners, and hopefully enjoying the people who are probably playing too slow in front of you. Okay. The second thing of that is, okay, in that 3.5 hours, we have to manage a lot of things that are going on. Okay. Maybe the weather's bad. Maybe you feel like somebody's pushing you behind you. Maybe there's a group of guys with a ranger who's making you feel like you have to rush through your shots. So one of the things in golf is that because of that, and because it's a non-reactionary sport, meaning that we're not reacting to a ball coming to us, the ball's just sitting there, that we're going to have an opportunity each time to do our setup properly, okay, and use that time to make sure that we're maybe taking a deep breath, maybe visualizing the shot, and certainly, hopefully not thinking, oh shit, the out of bounds is to the right. And I think that's part of what can elevate people's golf games more than even just the technical. Okay. So I don't know if we have any, I want to just take a break here and see if there were any questions or anything that I can clarify.
Yeah.
Yes, please. The position of the right thumb on the grip. Sometimes I find myself having it all the way over instead of straight down.
Okay, great question. So the question is the position of the right thumb on the grip. So the one way I always try to teach it and visualize it is that I want my right thumb, okay, to actually be slightly to the side of the grip.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know if you guys can see my hands, but here's the golf pride label on my grip is right here. Okay. So what I'm going to do is, what's interesting is that when we grip the left hand, okay, that thumb's slightly going to be to the right of the golf pride or the center part of the grip. And then my right hand, okay, is going to be in the fingers, and that thumb is slightly going to be to the left side of the center. So it's actually really not straight down or underneath, okay? So almost as if you had something between your thumb and your forefinger, just like this, okay, like you're gonna squeeze it together. That's how you want your right hand to be. I hope that was helpful. So it's not gonna be straight down. It's actually going to be a little bit off to the side.
Very, very helpful. So there's not any extra flex as your hands release across.
Right.
S-
Yeah. So the question
Sometimes
is,
I get not wristy, but it's somewhere in the fingers that I'm trying to accelerate more, and that's a mistake.
yeah, I know. I get what I totally get what you mean, right? So what you want to try to do is, if it's slightly over to the side, right? It's not, question is like if it's straight down or to the right. Okay, you're going to get a lot of extra rotation with your hands through impact. So the other thing too is at the top of our backswing and we hinge, right? If my thumb is straight down or to the side, it restricts that hinging motion. Okay, so this is also why the grip's so important, so your hands can work together. So my advice to you is, again, it's in the fingers, you're going to cover that left thumb, but your thumb is going to be just slightly off center. And that way both hands are going to work together through impact. You won't feel like you're adding an extra motion with your wrists.
Okay, Michelle,
Yes.
so question is, on feet. So when you talked about getting into your stance,
Sure.
what are your feet positions for different kinds of strokes?
Okay. So yeah. So the question is what your feet relative to the type of motion that you're going to make, right?
Mhm.
Okay. So great question. So what we're really talking about is the width of our stance in a sense. Okay. So that's one piece. So one of the things that I always try to tell my clients is that we want our feet to match the type of motion that we're making. So for example, if I am making a chip shot or a pitch shot,
Excuse me,
that's a
back up,
smaller-
please.
What's
Back
that?
up. We only
Sure.
have your knees. Back up.
There you go.
Still don't have the feet.
I'm gonna
Michelle,
try. Can you get me there?
Barely.
a little bit
Let's do it this
back
way.
further.
You know what? Let's do this. Okay.
Okay.
Driver. Let's say we're going to do driver. Okay. So you see where my legs are relative to my hips?
Uh-huh,
They're
uh-huh.
far away. Okay. So with a driver, which is a bigger swing, I'm going to use a wider stance because my stance is going to help build the type of motion, and support the motion, this bigger motion that I'm going to make in the golf swing. If I'm chipping or pitching, I want to make myself smaller. So I'm going to bring my feet closer together. Okay. And I'll try to back up in a second so you see how narrow they are. But they're right here. They're probably about 2 club heads away from each other. Okay. You see they're inside my hips, right?
Mhm.
Okay. Driver, outside my hips, chipping or pitching, inside my hips, being able to make a smaller motion. Okay. So the wider our stance, the bigger the motion we're going to have. The smaller my feet are, or the smaller the type of swing is, I'm going to bring my feet closer together, and that's going to help me make a smaller motion. So if somebody was chipping, making a small swing, and they look like this, I see this a lot. They're making a little swing, and their feet are super wide. They're going to automatically make too big of a swing because your feet build the type of swing that you're trying to make as far as its length and as far as its width. So driver, longer swings, wider stance to make sure that we can support that big motion. When we're chipping and pitching, smaller stance, we make ourselves smaller. So we're going to be able to make a smaller motion.
Good.
Michelle,
Yes.
on? Hi. How are you?
Good.
Okay. Being a mildly dyslexic left-handed player.
Yes. Yep.
Would it be okay with everybody listening if you instead of said left hand, right hand, because I have to translate that back.
Yeah, yep.
If you could say gloved hand.
Sure. Absolutely. I'm sorry, Laura, I didn't see you even on there, so I apologize.
Oh, it's okay. It's okay. You probably would have forgot I was left-handed anyway. But
No,
with everybody.
are you kidding? I just saw your swing on Facebook. How could I forget that you're left-handed?
There you go. Yeah.
Your shorts and a t-shirt. But yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. All righty. Thank you.
Sure, absolutely. Anyone else? Any other questions?
Oh, yeah, I have another question.
Sure.
How do you check yourself that you're using your arms straight but not stiff?
Good question. So the question is about tension, right? So there's a couple ways to do this. I always tell people kind of let the air out of their arms in a sense. Like you want to get to a point where you almost feel like your arms are nice and relaxed at impact. I call it, or at a dress, I call it the Xanax moment. Like you almost want to feel like you're on Xanax. That sounds really weird, but I think you know what I mean. Or a glass of wine into a happy hour. So I think that
Just legalize marijuana.
that's it. I knew I was ahead of my time. But what we want to try to do is, I always try to feel this as being kind of on a scale of 1 to 10. All right. So, on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 would be like spaghetti, and 10 would be like you're sitting in the middle of traffic and you're late. All right. So I think a 4 or 5 is a good number for your grip pressure and your arm pressure. The other thing I would say is that when you're setting up to the ball, have you ever heard the word waggle?
Yes.
Okay. And so what professional golfers are doing when you see them waggle is they're continuing their motion, right? What we don't ever see is this. And then the 5 things in my head about, well, Michelle told me this, and I'm supposed to do this, and my left arm, oh my God, I gotta hit the ball. All right. So, the thing to remember, it's kind of interesting about golf, non-reactionary. In other sports, when the ball is coming at you, you're in motion, right? You're moving. Much easier to make a fluid type of swing and motion when a ball or something's coming towards you. So in golf, it's so easy to get stagnant, stay over the ball too long. And then our first move ends up being pretty abrupt when we take the club back. So, for me, I know that when I set up and I get into my setup position, I actually waggle the club about 3 or 4 times. I look at the target, and before I take the club back, I take a deep breath. And that allows me to kind of set into my place, feel like I'm nice and relaxed, and I can make a kind of a motion that way. So that's an awesome question. What I would say, again, it kind of goes back to that pre-shot routine. The namaste moment in golf is that setup position and getting yourself into a relaxed state. Crazy enough, even with my players at Monmouth, we spend time actually practicing that pre-shot routine, and timing them, how long does it take them to hit the ball? It's a lot to it. So try to feel like you're kind of on that scale 1 to 10, like a 4 or 5, and also see if you can develop, a place where you can, start from a moving position as opposed to a stagnant position where we just take the club back and whip it back. Awesome question.
Michelle, you showed us several drills to do, like the turning drills. What do you recommend in terms of how often one does those? When I go to physical therapy for something, they always say do 20 reps, or do 10 reps and then rest and then do 10 more. What is the optimal amount of time one should spend doing these drills?
Every day, all day. I'm totally kidding. I'm kidding. I would say, I like to do things in sets of like 25 and, 20, 25 rotations. I think also besides the actual number. So to me, if you can practice 3 or 4 days a week and do these exercises and drills and do them at, and it's 25 like kind of rep increments, that would be great. The also part of it is setting the right intention. So kind of knowing, what I'm trying to get out of this motion, if I'm trying to hold my position and setting up the visual cue in your mind, visualizing the motion, where I want to finish, and then getting to that spot. So setting kind of a good intention for each one of the drills. I also want to suggest as well, and this is hard for most people, especially if you're someone who is very result oriented. When you're doing exercises or drills, and even when you're taking lessons and hitting balls, don't be so concerned about the result, okay? Meaning sometimes we have to make an exaggerated change to make a change in motion. So it's totally okay if you're doing exercises and drills, especially with a ball, okay, to not hit it great, or to miss, or to not have the perfect shot right away. It does take a little time for us to remap our brain to be able to get ourselves into a different motion. So and the question about the reps and time is fantastic, but I will also add to that, don't be afraid to fail. And I'm going to sound like that coach, but it's probably because this is what I do for a living. It's okay to fall down. It's okay to hit a bad shot. It's okay in an exercise or a drill not to get the right way or not to get the perfect result, because things are going to take a little time. And that's the only way we have the opportunity to learn. So I hate the word fail because there's so much emotion attached to it. But bad shots are okay. And bad shots are okay, and missing is okay.
I have a question.
Sure.
Cindy. It's in regards to what you just said in terms of the result.
Right.
Often when I am practicing and I go to a range, and I know where you are right now, so I don't want to offend you with this, but
Okay.
I find it difficult to believe that the result that I get on artificial turf
Uh-huh.
is the same result that I'm going to get when I practice on real grass. So okay, so I want to ask you what you think of the relationship between the two.
Oh, it's great. I'm not offended because we don't have enough land to have grass ranges. I think that's the reality of where we live. And it's why driving ranges and facilities like those are closing now because the property is just too valuable, right? So no, it's a very good point. I think this is why utilizing video and utilizing technology like TrackMan, if you have the ability to do that, is huge to be able to mark where you're at and the progress that you're making.
But like the artificial turf, does it give you?
No, I totally agree. I totally agree that you can make a shot on artificial turf and hit the ground and square the face up and think that you're hitting it well.
Right.
But if you're at a facility that has the ability to actually measure that, then you're already ahead of the game. So for example, like a TrackMan measures the attack angle and the contact that you're actually making with the ball. So I totally agree with your point. Totally agree. I would also say this. I was never, ever a huge proponent of, all kinds of crazy technology. I'm old school. I learned how to play golf, in a field.
And I'm old. So I'm old.
Right.
You're old school.
So that's how when I was a little kid, we didn't have driving ranges, right? So it was a field and we hit balls to a target and you just figured it out. And so I understand exactly what you're saying. Once once I got involved with using more technology, I was shocked, because not for me as the teacher, but more for the people that I'm working with, because we can actually measure in real time where you're at and whether you're improved. So like the stuff you're talking about, like the solid contact off of artificial
Right.
turf,
Right,
if you're by yourself at a driving range, you're just hitting balls, you don't know.
exactly.
But if
That's
you
what I
have
meant.
the ability to track the actual number and see the video, that's a completely different story.
Right, that, I guess that is, I wasn't aware of that level of technology indoors, so you're right, that is different.
Yeah, this isn't a great, yeah, so it's not as if you're, I'll tell you, just quick side note. I have a couple clients that, guys that I teach who, I taught outside, and we got them in here and we were working specifically on driver, which is a kind of has a different type of swing. And on the technology we have here, it gives you very accurate numbers as far as where you're making contact. So we ended up making one little change in their setup, and all of a sudden the ball started going 20 yards further. Now, the advantage of having the machine and the video is that I can track it. So it's not us just looking down the range and going, oh, wow, that looked like that went further.
Right,
I can say, yeah, that went 20 yards further, and this is why. So what I think the coolest part of this is that this machine, like this machine that we have here, it's a $25,000 machine. Up until about 5 years ago, the only people who had access to it were tour players. So it's really cool that now we have the ability to have access to that kind of technology to get better for everybody,
right,
which is really neat.
You know,
great, thank you.
Yep, thank you.
about going indoors. I had a real negative attitude about going into the golf cave and not taking lessons outdoors. And once I went into the golf cave with Michelle and she was using all of this technology, I changed my attitude 180 degrees about what I learned from the angles and the impact of the ball.
I think though that I was talking really less about the technological ones, but when you go to a regular range,
Right.
you're sitting there, like Farmer Brown is right across the street from me. I go on their patch of little teeny
Yep.
bit of grass
Yeah.
because I don't want to know how I hit off of plastic grass. I don't care.
Yep. I hear you.
But
I
what
wish-
you're
I-
doing is completely different,
I hear you.
and I
I
see
hear
that.
you totally. I wish we were in a place. I mean, I think about this, right? How you feel there. I wish we had the opportunity in the land to be able to have old grass ranges that we used to have. And it's changed a lot. So your questions are great.
Just so people know, I do go to Spring Meadow, has it. It's not great, but it's there. No one else is there. I could do the towel and no one will think I'm weird because no one's there. It's a great place to practice on grass if anybody wants to
There
practice.
you go. All about it.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Specifically, following up on that, if you're using some type of wedge and you're trying to hit, coming in at an angle that you're hitting the ball first and then a divot.
Yep.
If I'm doing it on artificial, my arms are a wreck after.
Right. Yep. I
I
agree.
mean, it's all the way up the arms. I just feel like I'm hitting cement
Yep.
because I'm
You can't-
coming in
yep.
underneath.
Yeah.
I'm
I mean,
actually practicing it wrong, in order to get it off the artificial turf.
Right. I mean, what I would also just suggest doing and seeing if you can cheap. I could send you some information on this too. I mean, you can cheaply get inserts that are softer artificial grass that you could actually bring to ranges and use. I can send that to you. We have the same issue with our team. I have a couple kids who have injuries that we have to be very careful of the amount of reps that they take off of artificial grass. A lot of ranges are not built with soft turf that has some give to it. They just throw it on the concrete. So I do have some stuff that I could share with you that might help you with that.
Terrific.
Yeah, for sure.
I had one more question, but does anybody else have one? Okay, you were talking about age. When I started, I had some of my grandmother's hickory shaft
Nice.
irons. I still have one of those around just for grins. Uh, but it's a new season. Maybe it seems like so many women always play with a practice swing each and every time. And when it gets down to 5
Okay.
hours, you lose me. That does not happen when I play
Right.
with a group of men. What is your opinion without me trying to influence in my own feeling?
But what about women versus men playing?
About
Or about
it seems that more women take a practice swing every time.
Yeah, I'm gonna come right now. Yeah, excuse me for 1 second. I think that's a great question. And I just got the green light, from Golf Cave for this room, but, I want to answer that. I think that, generally speaking, I think slow play across the board is for men and women. And I'll tell you why I know that, because I've coached men's golf teams and women's golf teams, and the men are actually slower than the women in the collegiate ranks. What I would say is that, across the board, men or women, all right, you want to get yourself in a position where you want most of your pre-shot routine stuff to be about 30 seconds, okay? And maybe limit yourself to one practice swing. The big thing is to play ready golf. And I think the last part of this is that if you're out of the hole, to be okay with putting your ball in your pocket and moving on to the next tee box.
Thank you.
That's
For
great.
sure.
Thank you so much, Michelle.
Thank you guys. I had a great time.
And
Michelle,
most-
just
Thanks,
one-
Michelle.
before we leave, I would like to, am I on, Michelle?
Yep.
Okay, so I'd like to, thank Arlene and Robbie Cohn for helping me put this together with you. Thank you for doing this. And just for everyone to know, Michelle is offering a 10% discount to LPGA amateur golfers to take solo lessons with her, which is really a benefit. So we'll see you on Monday, March 15th.
You got it.
Thanks, Michelle. Thanks, everyone, for
Thank
coming.
you.
Thanks, guys. Good seeing you.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you,
bye-bye.
Michelle.